Thank you. It's time for our keynoter. I get the honors again, but we're going to start out by reintroducing Susan Waddell. Susan, stand up. Oh, you are. Part of our partnership agreement with Northwest Evaluation is to also sponsor our keynote speakers. So when I suggested that we have Tamara join us, read it by Susan, she said, okay, so Tamara's here.
Nice.
So let me just say a few introductory words and we'll get on with this. Last year we had Kevin Honeycutt here from SDAC, which is the ESA in Kansas, one of our partners. Kevin entertained us with his instructional and musical technology. Last night over dinner, Tamara reminded me she has no musical talent. She warned me that if I asked her to sing, she was walking out that back door. So I'm not going to do that because I do not want to give the keynote. Last year, Kevin talked about Podstock, if you were here, remember that. Podstock is a instructional technology conference that SDAC puts on every summer in Wichita. I was so intrigued that I went to Podstock, had a great time. Even enjoyed Wichita. Even enjoyed Wichita. I had a chance to go to a session that Tamara put on in Wichita, and she quickly moved to the top of my list to keynote our conference. So you're going to enjoy her work. A little bit about Tamara. Her title is the Director of Professional Learning for SDAC. Hopefully, are you going to say a few things about SDAC?
I sure can.
Okay, a little unusual ESA compared to what we're used to. She's been a classroom teacher, instructional coach, principal, curriculum director prior to her work with SDAC now. It's important for me to hear that she, with all these job titles, she said none of those matter. Her real passion is to inspire others to lead their lives in a way that brings peace, joy, enthusiasm, and to help them reach outcomes they never thought were possible. You'll see in some of her literature, she states leadership is an action, not a title, which I think is important. Her keynote today is 9 ways to ignite yourself, inner greatness as a leader. If you're interested in learning more about this, they happen to bring some books along, and you can see them at the table afterwards or sometime this afternoon. Great book, but there's something really important about this. Jim Abbott is a cheapskate. So when I started negotiating with him on fees and travel and things, he said, okay, we'll pay for a one-way ticket. We got to sell books to get them home to Kansas, so make sure you do that. So warm OASD welcome to Tamara Konrade. Tamara.
Yes, I would appreciate it because we would like to get back to Kansas. We love Oregon, though. This is our first time in Oregon, and it's beautiful. It is not only beautiful, the people are extremely kind. And maybe this is unusual, I don't know, but everyone we have come into contact with they've been really kind to us. SDAC, like Milt said, we are a service agency in Kansas. We are a little bit different. We do not get any state funds, we don't get any grants, and we are entrepreneurs. And so we have member districts. We have about 60 member districts. We're a nonprofit organization. However, we're not for a loss. And so we also provide professional learning across the United States as well as in other countries. And I have the pleasure of getting to lead an amazing professional learning team, including Kevin Honeycutt. You really can't manage that kid. Guy, you can lead him, and he leads us, and that's the beauty of our team is we lead each other. And that's why I always say leadership is not a title. It truly is an action, and I hope today, like Milt said, I will not be up here singing. I will not be playing any instruments. However, I hope that I inspire you in your personal and or professional life to embrace even one of these concepts that I'll be speaking on. My other goal is that not only are you inspired, again, even just one, if you take it and you truly use it in your own life, I think our job's done. But the second thing, I really don't want this to happen. So as I look out, I do not want to see people sleeping. And if someone next to you does fall asleep, it is your job, because we're in this together, to hit them. I don't care how hard, but make sure they wake up. This is important information. And this morning I had a really huge privilege to hear about all of the innovative practices happening in Oregon. So I think you'll make some connections to this work. So as a leader, here's the first concept: to really ignite the greatness of a leader, and that's to show up with high energy. Energy that's contagious for others. And the reality is, your energy all the time is contagious. So what type of energy are you spreading? I want to introduce you to two people. There's Kat. How many of you know Kat? Yep, you all do. Kat is that type of person that walks into the room and right away just sucks the energy out of the room. Kat is that person who, it doesn't matter how great things are, amazing programs, practices happening, but she's finding every little piece of what's happening and sharing with everyone what's wrong with it. She's also that person that loves to blame others. Like, you know what, only if we had more money we could do that. Or only if we had another boss, I'd be happy to take part in that process. Well, Kat could even win the lottery, and she would complain about having to pay taxes. See, the point is, Kat is not a bad person. Kat experiences a lot of what we call catabolic energy. And catabolic energy is that type of energy that's very draining, very demotivating. You're not energized. Catabolic energy is just energy. We put negative as a label on it, but catabolic energy, we all experience. Every single one of us experience catabolic energies throughout a day. The power I hear, I don't believe it, I love it. I can't wait to talk to you later. So, catabolic energy truly is something that causes all of us stress. Then there's Anna. Anna is not Pollyanna, doesn't always think that there are no problems, but Anna shows up very differently as a leader. Anna walks into the room and you just sense energy. You sense enthusiasm, you sense engagement. Anna is looking how she can help serve, to help others, not just herself, to help the organization. Anna is the type of person that she sees the gifts and talents in others, whereas Kat's like trying to point out the faults of others. Anna is looking for the gifts and talents that people bring to the table. Because she really lives by the concept of people live up to or down to what you believe about them. And she believes in people. Anna sees opportunities even during trials. Anna isn't positive. Anna isn't perfect. But Anna is experiencing what we call anabolic energy. And anabolic energy is that energy that's fueling and energizing and engaging, and that's the type of energy we want to have in our classrooms, in our communities, in our home, because it fuels you to live a life of purpose. So let me share, there's two types of cultures. There's two types of relationships. There are two types of thoughts and actions that we take every second of the day. And it's either catabolic or anabolic. So I want you to just visit briefly at your table. Share an example of a catabolic culture. And we have gone to many different organizations and districts and worked with boards. And the number one answer we hear is legislature, is catabolic. That is the number one answer. So I want you to think globally, but you can also think about relationships. Now, if there is a catabolic relationship you're having with the person next to you, I would highly recommend that you don't tell them right now. Wait until later to have that conversation. But I want you to share at your table, what are some catabolic cultures or relationships that you notice in your work, in your community, and maybe in homes for which you work? Okay, just spend a few minutes.
Think. Yeah, I would agree with that assessment. Oh, my husband's a cowboy.
Oh, is he?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My ex-husband.
He is such a introverted.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So our business is very bad.
You're right.
Mine's very bad. How come she's sitting by herself? I don't know. Jonah.
We've scared her twice now.
We won't get you in trouble.
Much.
I love John and Keith. Oh, perfect. Because I'm like, good. Talking about your stuff. Why is there nobody in the front row?
Because no one wants to sit in the front row.
It's just like a classroom.
No.
For
We
lunch.
were.
No, but did you? I just saw you guys over there. That's what you need to do. That's what teachers do, right? That's right. Or they say, everyone in the back, move to the front.
You could bring your chair and sit over here.
She's being recorded. Who are you talking about? Oh, Donna? What?
We're going to make comments while
what
the
she was
thing's
saying.
being recorded. So you can,
Oh, you're
Oh,
recording.
do
Yeah.
please.
Okay.
Yes, nice
Well,
comments.
it's cutting off your head.
a little bit. We'll make comments for you for later.
You're fabulous.
She's amazing. We should have paid her double.
Okay, if you will please pause. So as leaders, we have the opportunity every second. And when I'm talking about leadership, that's in the homes, your leadership with your kids, with your nephews, nieces, friends, leadership at work. It's how you lead. We have the amazing opportunity to show up anabolically or catabolically every second of the day. So, as you think about some of the catabolic cultures, I want to hear from the group. What are some of those that you heard at your table? Heard or shared? That won't hurt feelings. What?
Everything political right now.
Everything
Catabolic.
political seems to be very catabolic. I bet you know of some sports teams that are catabolic and some that are anabolic. Another one that comes up often is church. That there are some church groups or Bible studies that can be very catabolic instead of anabolic, but they can be both. The piece that we share when we go out and do this work is that every single culture can choose to be catabolic, and every single culture can choose to be anabolic, because it's made up of the people and their energy and how they choose to show up. So even one person that chooses to show up with anabolic energy can have an amazing impact, because energy attracts like energy. So how are you showing up as a leader? What characteristics on these two lists really defined? If someone said, how would you describe Joe? How would they describe you? Is it more catabolic or more anabolic? And I'm guessing, just from the conversations that we've been having with people and hearing the amazing things happening in Oregon, there's a lot of anabolic energy in this room. So I want you to meet a wonderful friend of mine. She's an assistant superintendent, and she leads a very difficult, large district in Kansas. High SES population. There are, in fact, just recently, 4 kids were arrested because they were going to go bomb and murder people in the school. But there are a lot of challenges that their district faces. And the reason I wanted to introduce you to Teresa Tosh is because she is an anabolic leader. She is one of the most anabolic leaders I've ever met. Teresa, it doesn't matter what's happening from the mandate level, she sees things as opportunity to help kids, and her focus never leaves what we can do to help kids. So I want to introduce you, and we won't be able to go really deep with this, but I do want to introduce you to the 7 levels work. And Tammy passed out a document for you to give you an introduction to the 7 levels. But I'm going to share just briefly what this means. This energy work comes from Bruce Schneider, Energy Leadership. And it helps create that common language. It was interesting when the Skillful Teaching group was up here talking, they said one of the great benefits of that was having that common language. Well, that's what this does. It helps with common language to discuss energy and actions that are sometimes very difficult to discuss, openly and honestly. So here are the 7 levels. There's level 1 and 2. You'll notice on your sheet it's a very catabolic level. This is where you will notice mental illness fall, but not always. So we all, at times, experience level 1 and 2 energy when we're in stressful situations. Level 3 is that compliance. It's the compliance. I'll just take responsibility for it. I'll make it happen. Level 3 is energy that you actually get some work done, but you don't necessarily love it. It doesn't bring you a lot of joy. Level 4 and 5 are energy levels that really fill the heart, but also fill the mind. And it's an energy, those levels are levels where you get, that's where the greatest leaders of all walks of life live. Entrepreneurs, people that see possibilities. Level 6 and 7 is when you completely transcend your ego, completely. So when you're able to completely transcend your ego, it's about us, not even about me and you. And at level 6 and 7 is where we sense very little fear in our work, very little judgment, and very little worry. And in fact, at level 7, there isn't any. At level 7, and we won't get into it too much today, but that's really when you tap into your higher coach and whatever that higher purpose is in your life, your calling, your higher coach, and some of it's God. But it's really, really an amazing place to be. What we notice and why we are so passionate about this work is that this is where our schools are living. And I don't know if you sense that in Oregon, but when we would go into classrooms and we talk with administrators and we sense a lot of stress and just compliance. Compliance to just get things done. And the joy and the love and the passion for why we were called to this profession gets lost. So it was so neat to hear today about the innovative practices that were happening and are happening in this state that do really represent those higher levels of energy. So to kind of give you a better idea of the energy levels, this is what it looks like in action. So here's level 1. And I want you to think about someone you know, and it might be you, but think about someone you know that tends to have a lot of this energy. Don't say their name out loud. Level 1. People with a lot of level 1 energy distrust others. And they also go into inaction mode. And they also distrust themselves. So level 1, there's a lot of self-doubt. We always call it the washing machine, that just all your thoughts go around and around and around in your head. And you like, I should have done this, or I should have done that, and oh, I shouldn't have. And we tell people, stop shouldn't on yourself. Because the reality is, you did it, now move on. The level 1 energy, and why I say all of us experience it, when we're asked to do something we've never done before, there's that little ounce of fear or worry that might creep in. That's level 1 energy. But we have the ability to set it aside and access our higher levels of energy. So level 2. Level 1, it's all in our head. Level 2, it's anger. It comes out as anger. And there's some really forceful leaders that lead from a level 2. These are the micromanagers. They also, at level 2, you have them blaming people. Like, it's never my fault. It's always someone else's. And that's the staff member that says, oh, if only I had a different boss, or if only I had a boss that cared. I shouldn't say anything anyway because they don't value me. Well, level 2, they blame people, and there's a lot of either internal or external conflict. So level 3, they tolerate people. So when we're experiencing a lot of level 3 energy, so if you have groups of teachers working together, they come to the table with level 3 energy, they're just tolerating each other. And they're also complying with whatever they're asked to do. Almost have a I have to attitude, but they do it. So level 4, and this is where we tend to see schools and districts have a ton of energy, and that's level 4 because it's service oriented. It's care, compassion, concern for others. And it's also all about service. That's what our profession is. And so we tend to see a lot of level 4 energy in organizations. So level 5, and this is, in this work we always say strive for 5. And if you come to our service center, you will hear that. Okay, you'll also hear this. Okay, I'm going to go level 1. I'm going to go level 1 and I'll be right back. It's really, really powerful when you don't judge it and you don't call people that they're negative or positive, or you label them as cancer. I know. I've been known to do that before as well. So we actually use these levels to help us communicate expectations. And so when we're thinking about level 5, you'll hear us say strive for 5. We do not partner. We do not agree to do a project unless we have commitment and level 5 energy around it. Because what we have found that it will not sustain. If we only have level 3 energy, which is compliance, and let's just get it done, it will not sustain in our organization. Now that doesn't mean we don't do some mandates and we do the things that we need to do, but we don't put a ton of effort into it because we do what matters. And I think that's what sets our organization apart from others in our state. There's level 6 then. And level 6 is where there's synergy that truly happens. There's oneness instead of just collaboration. So I want to introduce you to a superintendent in Kansas, Steve. Actually, that's just a stock photo because I didn't really want you to see him, but Steve is a superintendent that came to me and said, Tamara, I absolutely hate my job. In fact, I am ready to quit right now, and I don't feel like I have a choice. So I said, Steve, what do you want to do? He goes, I'd love to go back into the classroom. So why aren't you making that happen? And he said, because I'm the breadwinner of the family. So what Steve was experiencing was a ton of level 1 energy. Like, I have no choice. I'm a victim to my circumstances. He had this huge worry that he would not be able to take care of his family. The other characteristic of Steve, and I knew it before we gave him the attitudinal assessment, is that he had a lot of love and care for people. And he really missed that service, that care for students, staff, and administrators. And so I said, well, what do you think about taking the attitudinal assessment, which is called the Energy Leadership Index? And we've given this to thousands of people. And there has been one person that says, no, it's not me. It nailed him. Let me show you his results. The top chart shows Steve's energy when he's not under stress. It's very unusual to see level 1 be the primary level of energy when you're not stressed. But for him it was. You'll notice his secondary was he was coping with it. He was just being able to cope. Because level 3 is coping, compliance, I'm just going to take responsibility, can't do anything about it. But then level 4 really showed up as well. And level 4 energy showed that he has so much care and compassion for others, even when he's under stress. Now, what we did some coaching, and when he was able to tap into these levels of energy, instead of focusing on his level 1, which was worry and I hate it, and he kept telling himself the story, and some of the practices, some of the other concepts I'll be sharing with you throughout this keynote, he made a complete shift. He now went to a different district, and he loves it. What he found was his practice was staying in his office, putting out fires, thinking he had to solve all the problems instead of empowering the people around him. And he makes it in the classroom several times a week to see students. That is a priority for him. And the passion, the joy, the excitement of what he does every day is coming back. It is really neat to see. So we also do the attitudinal assessment with schools. And I wanted to share this with you because it's really important. You can do it, you can kind of just gauge where your school is or where your organization is or the districts you work with. And it's powerful to see, okay, this school, their primary level was 4. Their secondary was level 3 and their tertiary was level 5. The practices you heard today about the Innovative Practices Award or whatever, I'm not exactly sure what you called them, but they were functioning at level 4, 5, 6. That's energy, 4, 5, and 6 energy. It's making things happen. In fact, I even heard Mark, is it Mark? The first one? Okay. Terrible. Mark said, we have to set aside egos because the reality, level 1 and 2 are egotistical. Level 1 and 2, there's a big ego in the way of doing what's great for kids and great for our community and great for our corporation. So this is that same school when they're under stress. So what happens, they care, and then when they're stressed or triggered, they tend to go to level 1, which is victim thinking. It's, I'm not enough. It's being done to me. I have no choice. So sometimes we see apathy with students. And the special ed teachers that talk today, they see a lot of those lower levels of catabolic energy. So, one way to really help ignite our inner greatness, because every student, every staff, every leader in this room, you have inner greatness, where you can lead from a high anabolic level, if you choose. You can also choose to lead from a catabolic level. Just know they have different impact. A different impact on you, your stress level, and they have a different impact on those you lead. In the home, in the school, in your organization, or in your community. So this is one practice that is really powerful, and that is to practice detached involvement. You guys have a lot of expectations from parents, from students, from staff, from the community. Lots of people expect certain things from you. And at times, that can cause us to focus so much on the goal, the external goal, and forget to enjoy the process. So I want you to do something for me. If at your table, you will write down on your paper 1, 2, 3. Now this can be personal, it can be professional. I want you to write a goal you have. It could even be, I want to become debt-free. It does not have to be professional. So write down a goal you have. Yeah, if it's in your head, it's good. Now, the second thing, if you were to accomplish that goal, how will you feel? And the third, what's the time frame for accomplishing this goal? Share briefly with the person next to you. What's your goal? What's your feeling? What's your time frame?
I want to be debt-free in 18 months.
You what?
I want to be debt-free in 18 months.
Yeah, we take it. I'm still paying my student loans.
Do you have a way to fix that?
I'm working.
Debt-free. So maybe 18 months isn't realistic. We'd have to 16 years.
What is yours?
Pay off the house. I'll be free to do more things. And
That's not bad. So how do you feel? What was yours?
Oh, I'm trying not to stress about things. That's my goal, is to not, don't sweat the small stuff. Trying not to, because I'm completely overloaded on everything right now, so I'm not.
So with me, with the debt-free, how I feel amazing, less stress, more secure, weight off my shoulders, well rested.
That's basically my thing.
No stress. That would be nice. I couldn't say no, I just had to say less. Because when you're
Right.
stressed, something else.
Yeah, there's always
exactly.
something
Unless we're completely anabolic, right? Doesn't that sound like the difference when we used to have Macs and PCs? Like, are you
Okay.
anabolic or are you
Now,
catabolic?
I'm not going to ask you to publicly share your goal, but I want you to think about this concept. So a goal I have is to be debt-free. The way I will feel is I'll feel safe. There's safety there.
Yeah, security.
There's safety, there's that security. The time frame, 2 years. Now, you all shared your goal, number 1. In reality, number 1 is not your goal. That's the way you're going to accomplish your goal. Your goal is number 2.
Oh, interesting.
And if you look at number 2, the way you feel, your inner being is truly your goal. And if we can remember that the external goals that we set are the way of getting to our goals, we can enjoy the process. So the 4th item I would like to share with you, and it's really interesting as you speak to people, you read body language, and I used to have the little stories in my mind saying, oh, I wonder, oh, they're thinking this, oh, they're thinking that, and it's really powerful to let that go. Because it no longer has control over you of showing up authentically. And the one reason is because of judgment. Judgment is something we're taught from a very young age. And if we can switch the judgment switch, if we can turn the judgment switch off, you will be amazed that you will show up differently as a leader. You'll show up with higher levels of energy. When you are judging someone else, you are functioning at those lower levels of energy. The higher you go, the less judgment you have of self and others. It was funny because many of you know Kevin, Honeycutt, and Ginger, but anyway, we shared some of this work with them. And the very first thing, it's hard for you guys to see, but the very first thing Ginger said is, oh my gosh, that picture is really dirty. I wouldn't use it, it's ugly. And we both, at that very minute, just looked at each other and started laughing, and I said, yep, we're using it, because you just judged it. Now, the judgment was, it's ugly. The discernment was, it's a dirty picture. The judgment, we all evaluate. We all get to evaluate people, and we evaluate ourselves. That's discernment. Like she's walking all over the stage, her hands are going crazy. That's a discernment. It's when we put a label on it that it's good, bad, right, wrong, is when it becomes a judgment. And judgments are often made based on our own values and beliefs. So as leaders, I encourage you to really pay close attention to when you judge. Not just judge others, but judge yourself. I want to introduce you to 2 of my greatest friends, and that's Kevin Honeycutt. Sorry that you didn't get him this year because he is so entertaining and so fun, and I love him to death. However, Glenn Wiebe is an amazing keynoter as well. And these 2 have similar passions, go all over the world to speak to educators and administrators about amazing learning environments, engaging learning environments, technology integration. They're on the same path. They can't stand each other. And I say they can't, they couldn't stand each other. See, every time Kevin would walk into the office, Glenn would, you could almost see it in his body language. He'd roll his eyes. He's like, oh gosh, here he is again. Because Glenn was judging the fact that Kevin would come in all, and those of you that know Kevin, raise your hand if you know Kevin. Yeah, he's flamboyant, and he's exciting, and he's so high energy. He tires you out after being with him for 5 minutes. He's awesome. He's an amazing motivational speaker and educator and leader. And so Glenn, through this work, because this work we do, we don't just talk about it, it lives in our organization. And we have not always been an anabolic culture. Maybe from the outside, our SDAC was seen as very anabolic, but there were a lot of camps. There was the marketing camp, there was the professional learning camp, there was the business camp, and there was a lot of competition. And so instead of having those catabolic cultures in our office, we've been working the last 2 years. And you ask any employee in our office, and they will say it has moved from catabolic cultures in pockets to an overall anabolic culture. And Glenn Wiebe is very quiet, timid, so you can tell their personalities are very different. He shared with me that it was because he was able to release judgment of Kevin and embrace curiosity that their relationship is much better. And in fact, they went on a road trip together this last year. Last year at Podstock, they keynoted together, or they didn't keynote, I guess they did a breakout session together. And then here pretty soon they're going to keynote together. So they made the conscious choice to release judgment of each other and embrace curiosity, which builds trust. So, Glenn, it was funny, we had a little activity in our last staff meeting, and he goes, yeah, we're talking about the impact this has made on them showing up as a leader and the organization. He goes, yeah, when Tamara brought this to us, I kind of thought it was all this new age stuff and blah, blah, blah. And he goes, because he was very skeptical. And skepticism is level 2, by the way. Very skeptical. Like, oh, yeah, whatever, this won't work. And he goes, then I was like looking around and seeing it work. Like, people like each other now. People are showing up differently. He goes, I'm a believer. It worked. He is an example of how, because he consciously chose, number 1, became aware of his energy and didn't hide it or mask it or make an excuse for it, he decided to do something about his energy and the impact it was having on his relationships and on the team and the organization. It's huge. So, I want to share just briefly this from the book. Non-judgment creates silence in your mind. Silence makes room for peace, composure, creativity, and really hearing what others are saying, and experiencing life as it unfolds instead of resisting or controlling it. So when we can experience relationships without attaching labels, it's really freeing. There's really no good, bad, right, wrong. There are things that can hurt us. There are things that can help us. We have put all those labels into this world. So, as leaders, I encourage you, that's one way you can really tap into your inner greatness, and that's to release judgment and embrace curiosity of yourself and those you work with. So the 5th one, rewrite your rules. Now, I'm not asking you to be a rebel, but rewrite the rules that are no longer working for you, that are holding you back as a leader and showing up authentically. This is my son. And the tattoo says redefined. He sent it to us, and I did not release judgment and embrace curiosity. I told him how I felt. But then when he explained it to me, it was pretty powerful. And I'm going to try and do this without crying. There are 2 stories. I might cry, so you'll just have to bear with me. But he really struggled in school. He was extremely bright, but math, he struggled. And so all the way through high school, he's told, you need to just do buildings trades. You need to do building trades. That's what you're not college material. You just need to go to a tech school or whatever. Well, he continued to tell himself that he wasn't enough. And so what Braden decided to do was go and be a rebel and fill things. He filled the void other ways, not necessarily very productive. And then there was a moment in his life that he realized he was enough. He was enough. He found God again. And his tattoo, you can't really see it, but it says redefined, and the I is lowercase, saying that I am not as great as him. And on his bracelet, it's I am second, to remind him that he truly is second. But he has a lot to offer this world. So another example of old rules that some of us in this room might live by. Raise your hand if you can relate to at least one of them. Now don't change it if it's working for you, but rewrite it if it's not. See, this one, I've lived with my entire life until about 5 years ago. Because I thought approval from others really helped me identify my worth. And it's really hard to stand up here and share that with amazing leaders in the room. I'm so honored to be here. But I'll tell you, this is me as a child. I still have frizzy hair, yes. And I was a good old girl. I was good at sports, I had good grades, I was well respected in the community, my parents were, we went to church every Sunday, and you know, the labels were put on that she's just a good old girl. She's gonna make it far in life. Well, my husband and I, high school sweethearts, we ended up having our firstborn when we were 18 years old. Just finished freshman year of college. And I'll never forget the feeling of our hometown people, all the rumors, even the statements like, they won't make it, they won't make it, there's no way, oh, what? Now what's gonna happen with her education? So I was going to become a teacher. 3 months later, we had our premature baby. I was 6 months pregnant, and it became another story I told myself that, you know what? I'm not even good enough to have a healthy baby. I was 6 months when I had him. He was born with bleeding on the brain. That's Braden, the tattoo man. And we didn't even know if he would live. So here, when I hear comments, I kept thinking, oh my goodness, even in this time of really challenging times for my husband and I was still worried about what other people thought. When people came to the waiting room to see, I didn't want them to see him. I thought he looked like an alien. And that sounds horrible, but I was scared to death that he was going to die and I didn't want to get attached. So he ended up becoming a very healthy little boy. But we stayed in school, and it was really difficult because we didn't have the financial resources. So we were on welfare. And I'll never forget the humility of standing in the grocery line, looking around, waiting for the lines to go down, and no one that I knew would be around to go pay for our food. I was living by that old rule that approval from others matters. And now I am happy to say I don't live by that rule anymore. Now, do I care that we could have a relationship? Absolutely. It doesn't mean I don't care. It means I don't allow other people to show me what my worth is. And many of our students, many of our staff live by that old rule, and some of you might, that the approval of others defines your greatness, and it doesn't. You get to define your greatness. You have it in you. So I now live by the rule instead. Be authentic. You are enough. Be authentic. Those that don't like you and those that treat you poorly, that's them. Let them own that energy. Protect yours. So as leaders, I encourage you to rewrite the rules that are not working for you. Because there might be some rules that allow the ego to creep in instead of what you really care about and what your purpose is as a leader. So here's my family. I think as we live this rule, it's really important to become conscious of the rules we live by. And so I share this because this was an old rule I used to live by as well. And this is my daughter learning to water ski. And I'll tell you, some of those old rules that were holding me back as a leader, I see in her. Because it's model, and she's picking up on it. And I used to play it safe. Like, oh, I don't want to do that. What if I fail? I hate fear of failure, like held me back big time. I did not want to fail. I don't want to look stupid in front of anyone. I wanted to make sure people knew I was confident and competent and strong. And you know what? When I'm fearful now, I am calm. I'm confident and I know I have the competence. But there are still times when you're asked to do something you aren't sure exactly how to do it, or put in situations that are uncomfortable. I have that little words, that little voice in my mind saying, Tamara, be calm, confident, and competent. Because it allows me to live by that new rule instead of the old rule that was holding me back. So the sixth essential concept, and this one in our world is getting put aside too much. I don't know about you, and if this happens, I'm not judging you, I'm making a discernment. That I see a lot of families at the restaurants nowadays, and they all have their phones out. Now, I'm not going to say that's good, bad, right, wrong. The discernment I'm making is the listening is not happening. The communication isn't always happening. I had a teacher when I was a first-year principal come into me, and I'm so glad because he was my teacher. He said, Tamara, do you realize every time I come in here, you're working on your computer, and you'll like look up and talk to me and then keep working on your computer? And it's to that day, I don't do that anymore. And if I do, I'm not conscious of it. But I try and make every effort to put aside anything that I'm doing, and I look at the person and I listen. Give them space to really share with me what's on their mind. That's what this lady did. Nicole was out in California at a speaking arrangement a couple weeks ago. And Nicole, I had a lot of gray hair, and I decided, okay, Tim, I can't do this anymore. I have got to go get it colored. And I walk in, and my first thought was, oh my goodness, I don't know if I want this older lady coloring my hair. It was a complete judgment. Like, she probably didn't know the new methods, it'll fall out, I don't know if she knows what she's doing, but something I can't tell you to this day drew me to this lady. And I'm so glad, because after an hour and a half listening to this gal and her wisdom, I learned so much. She listened to me as well. I can't tell you, I haven't been listened to like that for a long time. She gave me the space to really just be heard. She said, I asked her, I said, so what does success mean to you? You know, I get to go and speak to a lot of leaders and students and staff and organizations, and she goes, oh, honey, let me tell you. She goes, number one, know Jesus. That's how she said it. So, number two, you just choose to wake up in a good mood. You choose how your day is going to go, and it can go well every single day. She said it's all choice. And the third one really struck me. She goes, and number three, slow down. Slow down when you're in the grocery store. Slow down when you're with people, and listen to them. Because you never know who's going to need you. So I was sharing this with my husband. Yes, I made my husband listen to it. So that next day, he slowed down and he listened to the neighbor across the street, where we usually just say, hey, how are you? And we come and go because we're all so busy. And he listened. He went over there and had an hour conversation with him. We didn't know he had surgery. We didn't know that he really was in need of some help, so we were able to take some stuff to the the yard compost place, I don't know. Not the dump, but we have another place in Inman. He didn't know that, and he wouldn't have unless he went over there to talk to him and listen. So, as leaders, how well do you listen? Is that on a scale from 1 to 10? 10, I'm an amazing listener. Number 1, I'm horrible at it. I'm always thinking about what I need to get done. I need to do my email. I need to do this. I need to do that. So if we just shh and listen, it's amazing who might be your teacher. Now, how many of you know Mike Cook? He's my boss. Yeah, we're pretty lucky. He's an amazing individual. And I share this picture because it reminds me of being mindful. One of the chapters in our book is about being mindful, not mindful. And all of us have lots and lots of stuff that we have in our head. Personal, professional, everything. Well, when we are mindful, we truly can create a calmness in our environment, in our work, in our home, in our communities. So think about it. Ships can sail on smooth waters. They can also sail on rough waters. We don't sink because of the water or external things happening around us. We sink, ships sink when water gets in them. And it's the same thing with us as leaders. It's the stuff we allow in us that causes us the stress, the anxiety, the worry, the frustration, the anger. It's not all the external things, it's what we allow in. And here are 4 things that we allow in that causes sometimes our inner spirit to sink. And that's this: self-critical thoughts. I'm not enough. People don't like me. I can't do that. Imaginary stories. An imaginary story might be that you're walking down the hall and you see a group of the teachers or staff talking and laughing, and all of a sudden when you walk by, they're completely quiet. So the imaginary story is, oh wow, they're talking about me, or they don't like a decision I just made. So imaginary stories we tell ourselves all the time. We make up, we don't have the true facts, but we see something happen and we make up the facts in our head. So imaginary stories cause the level 1, level 2 energy. Negative assumptions. Because it's happened in the past, it's going to happen again. I used to work for a boss, and oh man, he was so untrustworthy. I mean, he did not care about us, he didn't value us, and then if I have that experience in my mind, the next boss I work for, I might have that assumption. So I love the quote, and I shared it earlier. People live up to or down to what you believe about them. So why don't we have positive presuppositions about each other? There's enough success in the world, we can all have some of it. Doesn't have to be a competition. So negative assumptions is another thing that causes stress, worry, anxiety in those lower levels. Keeping limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs are more global. So limiting beliefs might be, I'm a woman, so I'm not even going to try for that CEO position because they won't hire a woman anyway. That's a limiting belief. Now we can have all of these, and the reality is they can hold us back from living our greatness, from showing up as an anabolic leader. Because I don't know about you, when you're experiencing these, I tend to be on the catabolic side. Maybe not outwardly, but inwardly. And even if we try to put on a mask, it shows up. People see it by what we don't say. The 8th important concept. And again, I hope you just take even one and really intentionally focus on it, because it will make a difference. Build an anabolic team. In the book, we use Jim Rohn's quote, "You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." Be around those who will build you up, not tear you down. And then I ask you, what type of team member are you? Are you one to build up or tear down? Publicly or privately? Because who's on your team? Do you want to be part of the catabolic culture, or do you want to be part of the anabolic culture? You have 100% choice. Meet Andrea. She's a member of a state organization in Kansas, and we did the ELI, the Energy Leadership Index, with their whole group. And it was a bunch of lawyers, school boards, and her. And she works for the organization. She's in a supervisory role. And we were only halfway through the day. We didn't even give them the results yet. She came up, you were there. I couldn't believe it. She had tears rolling down her face. And she says, "Tamara, I live at level 1 and 2, and I don't want to live there anymore." She goes, "I don't know how to get out." I looked at her and I said, "You are beautiful." Like, what a beautiful awareness that you have. Because if you're not aware that you're living there and bringing everyone down around you and maybe not aware of it, you are, and you will do something about it. She goes, "I don't want my daughters to experience this anymore," because she was seeing it in her daughters as well. So her daughters are on her team. And what a conscious choice to change the way she was showing up. And the powerful thing was, her assessment showed it. Her primary was level 1, her secondary was level 2, even under non-stress. So it validated for her that she was showing up that way. Well, happy to say, Andrea has shifted. She's enjoying life now. She has so much more satisfaction for her personal and professional life. We got an email from her supervisor, and he said, "I don't know what you guys did," because we did some coaching. "I don't know what you guys did, but she is completely different. Like, she's enjoyable to be around." You know what the supervisor told me at lunch the day we did the training? He goes, "She's the office bully." She's showing up differently. She has the inner greatness in her. She didn't have to go to a bunch of seminars to learn how to be great. She had it in her. She just had to learn to show up differently. It's pretty powerful. This is what she really took to heart, so I wanted to share it with you. Many of you already have seen this prayer, and I'm not trying to push any beliefs on you, but I love what the QBQ had to say in their book. It's about how to stop procrastination and victim thinking and blame. It's a very easy read. You'll read it in one night. But it says, the new serenity prayer is this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the courage to change the one I can, and the wisdom to know it's me. We can sit around all day hoping someone else will change, but the reality is we have no control of that. We can influence it by the way we show up, regardless of the circumstance. And the last one, and I'm going to close here, that in our book, we have a whole chapter on something more, because we're always looking like there's something more. You know, let's be not just content, but let's really enjoy the process, wherever we are in life. And I'll pick up that litter, whoever's in charge of cleaning. It's been said that when asked how he carved his infamous statue of David, Michelangelo replied, "I just chipped away everything that wasn't David." So, I want to leave you with this. You don't have to try and be something more, because you already are. What you need to do is carve away the stuff that you are not. Show up authentically. Because when you carve away all those labels, those judgments, those experiences, that ego, rules, expectations, you become authentic, vulnerable, and an extremely strong leader. Thank you so much for letting me spend an hour with you. It's been a joy, and I would love to talk more about this work if you're interested. But go out, inspire, and you notice the IN is capital. Inspire those around you. Have a great rest of the conference.